Hi, I'm Joey Zuber, a former cliff diving athlete, and if you're not sure what cliff diving actually is, well, essentially it's like the Olympic discipline of diving, but we perform our skill sets from much greater heights, up to 27 meters, landing feet first. Okay, so today I'd like to talk about a pretty interesting topic, and it's visualization for body healing. Now, it's quite fascinating because not many people are aware of this, but as a matter of fact, there's been some great university studies showing that by visualizing regularly for body healing, that you can greatly improve your recovery time after operations or injuries. So I'll go into more detail about that later. But I thought I'd give you some backstory as to why I became interested in this particular subject, and that's through an accident that I had in central Colombia. Now, unfortunately, it was a pretty severe incident which resulted in a broken femur, which is your thigh bone. And that's one of the hardest bones in the body to break. And there were many other complications as a result of this accident, namely kidney failure. But post-operation, the major obstacle that I faced was the fact that my leg was now 3 centimeters shorter. Now, if you can imagine walking around with one shoe on, that's what it feels like. And with that comes some health issues relating to your hip and your lower back. So it was looking like at some point in the future, after all the wear and tear of having this limb length discrepancy, it was likely I'd have some kind of an operation with my hip or my back. So the question was, what do you do about this discrepancy in the leg? And there are a few options. One, you can just raise your shoe up and try to live with it. But what it means is that your mobility is greatly reduced and that capacity to play sports like I once did was greatly diminished. So I started to look into some options to operate on my leg to make it longer. So a leg lengthening procedure known as an Ilizarov technique. So that basically revolves around breaking your leg and then expanding 1 millimeter a day so the bone can catch up and grow. And so luckily there's some new technology at the moment called a telescopic rod. And so what happens is they have to crack the bone and then insert this rod that goes through the middle of the femur down the marrow, and the rod is about 35-40 centimeters long, and inside has a thread. So here's the rod, and then you have the fracture site, and it will start to expand 1 millimeter a day. So I lost 3 centimeters of leg length, so that was going to take a month to actually get that expansion to happen. But obviously the bone healing, in total will take much longer. But anyway, this is not a small operation and not something that I took lightly, so I had to do a lot of research. But I came to the conclusion that if I didn't do anything about this, that most likely I would have some kind of an operation on my hip and my back down the track. So I figured, while I'm still young and fit, I'll go through with this procedure. But I was still very, very apprehensive and nervous because in Colombia, when I had my accident, there were a lot of complications and I was well aware of what could happen. So given that I was nervous about this particular operation, I sought some advice from a sports psychologist called Matt Orberg. Now, this conversation was pretty interesting. Right off the bat, he started talking about visualization for body healing. He was showing all this research from the universities, like I said before, showing that the recovery times of people can be greatly reduced after operations and injuries. And they actually did this research across a whole range of demographics, a whole range of age groups. Some were athletes, some were non-athletes, but all of them showed that this rate of recovery was significantly faster. And I thought to myself, well, what have I got to lose? So let's give this a try. And then Matt started to explain that, look, this isn't something whereby you just think, okay, let's think positive thoughts and all of a sudden you're going to heal faster. It's more to it than that. This is something that needs to be done with discipline and daily. So 4 to 5 times per day, you should undergo this visualization exercise. And then he began to explain that this visualization, in my particular case, should take place a month before my operation, and you should continue it afterwards for a good 3 to 4 months. And then what I found by using this technique, I actually halved my recovery time. So I'll give you an example. The doctors actually said to me, look, we're anticipating that you'll be able to walk again at 4 months. And they were looking at the x-rays every 2 weeks to see how much bone healing was happening. And at 2 months, they said, look, you're ready to walk. This is well ahead of the planned recovery time. And the other milestone was to be able to start to jump and do some kind of impact on the leg, which was expected to be around about 8 months. And by 4 months, they were looking at the bone healing and they said, off you go, you can start to jump and put some impact through that right leg. And for me, that was pretty conclusive. But I will also add that it needs to be done in conjunction with following the physiotherapy program and making sure that you take care of your health in terms of eating properly and making sure that everything that you do is geared towards a fast recovery. I think the visualization played a major role in improving my recovery time. Okay, so let's begin the practical exercise for visualization for body healing. So first of all, let me give you an overview of what we'll cover. And the first stage is learning how to breathe properly with your diaphragm. The second stage is visualization of the senses. And the third component is visualization for the actual body healing. So first of all, let's explain breathing. Now, us as adults, as a matter of fact, we start to learn how to be quite tense. We breathe with our chest, but actually the better option is to make sure that we start to breathe with our diaphragm. Okay, so here's an exercise for you. Lay down somewhere nice and comfortable on a couch or your bed. And then what I want you to do is close your eyes and then place your hands on your navel. And so the idea is to actually try to breathe and your stomach should rise as you inhale and fall as you exhale. So try and feel that breathing whereby the stomach comes all the way up to its highest point and then comes straight back down again, nice and gentle. So breathing with your diaphragm. Inhalation, rising all the way up. Exhalation, stomach coming all the way back down again. Now the point is that us as humans, we all have a breathing rhythm that suits us best. So we'll experiment with 3 types of breathing rhythms. One with a 3 count, one with a 4 count, and one with a 5 count. And then after this point, you can start to understand which breathing rhythm suits you best. So first of all, we'll start with the 3 count. So laying down, hands on your navel, close your eyes, and make sure you exhale now, let go of all the air in your stomach, and on the count of 3, we'll inhale. So 1 and 2 and 3. Inhale, 1 and 2 and 3. Exhale, 1 and 2 and 3. Inhale, 1 and 2 and 3. Exhale, 1 and 2 and 3. Now, make sure that when you're breathing in and you reach the 3 count, you start breathing out straight away. So try not to hold your breath between the 3 counts. So in your own time, start to concentrate on that constant breathing rhythm. So the same pace as you breathe in and same pace as you breathe out. Concentrating on that nice, constant, smooth rhythm. Once again, try not to hold your breath between the counts. And you can repeat this cycle 4 or 5 times. Let's move on to the 4 count, which is just the same as what we just did, but of course counting all the way up to 4 as you're breathing in, and then all the way up to 4 as you're breathing out. Okay, so letting go of all the air. Exhale, count of 3 will begin. 1 and 2 and 3. Inhale, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Exhale, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Inhale, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Exhale, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Continue with this rhythm. Concentrate on that constant breathing in and breathing out. The stomach rising and falling. Constant rhythm. Repeat this cycle 3 or 4 times. Okay, so let's begin with the 5 count. Once again, letting go of all of your air. And on the count of 3, 1 and 2 and 3. Inhale, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Exhale, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. In your own time, continue with this rhythm 3 or 4 more times, feeling the stomach rising all the way up and falling back down again. Constant rhythm coming in and out. Okay, so take a break now from the breathing, and now I want you to think about which breathing rhythm suits you best. You know, what do you feel most comfortable with? It doesn't matter if it's the 3 count or 4 count or 5 count. So in future, whenever you come back to these breathing exercises, you know which count that you should use, the 3, the 4 or the 5. Now we can begin the second stage of this exercise, visualization of the senses. Now lay down and you can breathe normally. Close your eyes and start to picture somewhere you enjoy being. For example, I like being near the beach in Thailand. Maybe it's the mountains, the lakes, the forest. Doesn't matter where it is, as long as you feel peaceful and it's somewhere that you enjoy being. Begin to pay attention to what you see. Perhaps it's the shape of the mountains. Notice the subtle differences in the color of the leaves, or perhaps the water flowing through the pebbles down the stream. Look at all the subtle differences in color and shade, and then begin to look to the left. What do you see over there? And then slowly pan over to the right. What do you see around you? You can take a moment to look up, take a moment to look down. The point is to pay very close attention to everything that you see. Then we start to move on to the other sense, what we hear. In this place, are you listening to the ocean, the sound of water? Perhaps you can hear the gentle breeze blowing through the trees. Some of the sounds are softer, some are stronger. There's a kaleidoscope of different sounds, some in the foreground, some behind you, some off to the side. Pay close attention to every little sound around you. Another sense that we have is smell. In this area, are you smelling the forest? Is there a mossy smell? Is it salty air? Maybe someone's cooking in the distance. Or flowers. Once again, some are softer, some are stronger. Some closer to you, some further away. Another sense that we have is touch. Perhaps it's a nice sunny day and you can feel the warmth on your skin, or a cool breeze blowing across your body, cooling down the surface of your skin. And perhaps you're walking around without your shoes on, feeling of the cool grass between your toes or the coarse sand as you walk along the beach. Take a moment to pick an object up. It can be a stone, a branch, a coconut shell. What does it feel like? Is the texture smooth? Is it rough? Notice how it feels in your hands. And that concludes that part of the second stage. And now we can move on to the actual visualization of the body healing. Now imagine you're looking at yourself through the lens of a camera. You can see yourself lying down. And wherever your injury is, or the affected area, perhaps your knee, your lower back, your shoulder, your neck, begin to zoom in with the camera. So you come closer and closer to that point of where the affected site is. Zooming right in nice and close, and all of a sudden you pass through your skin and now you're inside your body, in that zone where the injured area is. And you can start to see perhaps the damaged cells or an area that's red or inflamed or irritated. What we can start to do is imagine how cells can multiply on top of one another, starting to move across the expanse of the area of the injured site. So piece by piece, cells growing and multiplying and solidifying. You can also imagine perhaps a ray of light shining over this area, a soothing light cooling down the injury. Some people like to imagine there's a group of busy workers inside their body repairing damaged cells, smoothing them over, almost like a brick wall, adding one brick at a time and slowly making the injured site healed again. Now begin to see that area. Maybe it's a bone, perhaps it's a ligament or a tendon, but look at it. Now you can start to see it taking shape, taking form. As the bone is looking smooth, it's looking solidified, it's looking strong. The ligaments and the tissues back to their original form, looking like they are ready to play sport perhaps once again. Now you can spend as much time as you want on this particular exercise, but make sure you spend plenty of time with that rebuilding phase. Once we've visualized that site completely healed, we can start to pull backwards and pull outside of our body. Maybe your injured site is your leg. You've been on crutches for a long time and unable to walk. But now you can actually see yourself hopping out of bed and walking. And the walking has a nice fluidity to it. It looks easy, it looks smooth. And step by step, you can start to see yourself gaining more mobility. Jumping, light jogging. Perhaps your shoulder has been injured and you can see yourself moving your arm once again with complete ease and a full range of motion. Maybe like playing tennis, you can see the arm moving back and forth with no pain whatsoever. Or running at full pace once again, getting back to the point at your very best. And picture yourself, whatever you do, doing it perfectly. And it looks smooth, it looks easy, and you're enjoying the mobility of your body once again. So So that concludes the visualization exercise, and make sure that you try to do this at least 4 times a day and follow your exercise routine, and you'll be well on your way to speedy recovery. I hope you enjoyed this session.